For over 300 years, the galaxy lived in fear. The Varn Dominion, a cruel and powerful alien empire, ruled every planet they found. They crushed anyone who said no. They burned cities, destroyed moons, and turned proud civilizations into slaves. No one was strong enough to fight back. The Zarkans had the largest fleet in the stars. Giant warships, black as night, floated above planets like death itself. Their soldiers wore silver armor and showed no mercy. They called themselves the bringers of order, but everyone else called them monsters. The galaxy slowly became quiet, peaceful, but not by choice. It was the peace of fear. Races that once explored the stars now hid underground. Great cities became ruins. Space stations floated empty. The stars still shined, but hope had gone dark. And then, something strange happened. One day, on the edge of Zarkan space, a small ship appeared. It was old. It was slow. It did not match any known alien design. The Zarkan patrol scanned it. Its metal was damaged. Its systems were ancient. But what shocked them most, it was human-made. Humans were a dead species, gone for over 200 years, wiped out by war. No human ship had been seen in centuries. The Zarkan commander laughed. "Is this a joke?" he said. The patrol sent a warning. "You are in Zarkan space. Turn back or be destroyed." But the ship did not turn. It stayed in orbit above a lifeless planet, one destroyed long ago by the Zarkans themselves. Then the ship sent a message, just 4 words. "We remember, we return." The commander stopped laughing. That night, the patrol ship vanished. No signal, no escape pod, no wreckage. The small human ship was still there, still silent, still watching. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. The rebels hiding in the shadows whispered, "A human ship. Impossible." Some cried, some cheered. Most didn't believe it. But the ones who had seen it with their own eyes, they were afraid. The Zarkan High Command tried to hide the news, but it was too late. Rumors moved faster than light. The people of the galaxy began to ask questions. Who was inside the ship? How did they survive all these years? Why now? And most of all, what do they want? The Zarkans sent scouts, spies, and drones to watch the ship, but none returned. It did not fire. It did not speak. It only waited. One Zarkan general, old and wise, looked at the image of the ship and said, "This is not just a ship. This is a message, a warning." The emperor of the Zarkans, Varn the Red, was furious. "One old ship dares to challenge the Dominion," he roared. "Crush it." But the generals hesitated. Something felt wrong. Something about that ship felt dangerous. The ship was named Valkyrie. It had one pilot. Her name, Commander Rhea Cole. She was the last human. Born in secret, trained in silence, raised by machines, memories, and war stories. She had waited her whole life for this moment. She looked down at the ruined planet below. She remembered its name. Earth's Outpost 7. It was her people's last hope. Now, just ashes. Her voice was calm, but her heart was full of fire. She whispered, "You took everything from us. Now, I take everything from you." And so began the return of humanity. Not as an army, not as a nation, but as a single warship flying alone in the dark, watching, waiting, ready to strike. The galaxy did not know it yet, but history was about to change. Forever, the ship floated silently in orbit, its dark surface reflecting the cold light of nearby stars. Nothing moved. No sounds came from it. But inside, the last human was preparing for war. Commander Rhea Cole sat in the command chair of the Valkyrie. Her face was calm, but her eyes held fire. She had seen too much, lost too much, waited too long. Now, the time had come. All around her, the ship's systems hummed softly. Unlike the sleek, modern ships of the Zarkan Empire, The Valkyrie looked old, but it was far from weak. Hidden deep inside were weapons and tech no alien had ever seen, not even the Zarkans. Rhea stood up and walked slowly toward the observation deck. The planet below her was dead, covered in black scars, broken mountains, and deep craters. Long ago, this place had been full of life. It had green fields, tall towers, families, laughter, and humans. But that was before the Zarkans came. She had only been a child when they attacked. Her parents had hidden her inside an escape pod and launched it into deep space. She watched from a window as everything she knew was burned away. The pod carried her to an old human research base hidden on a frozen moon. The scientists there had been working in secret, trying to build something powerful, something that could one day fight back. But after receiving the emergency signal, they knew they had failed. The war was already lost. So they made one final choice. They uploaded every human memory, every strategy, every piece of technology they could into a single system. Then they trained Rhea. They taught her everything about ships, war, survival, and history. They raised her to be more than just a soldier. They raised her to be the last hope of her kind. Now she was ready. Rhea opened the ship's console and ran a scan. 3 Zarkan scout ships were hiding nearby, cloaked in shadows. They thought they were invisible, but the Valkyrie saw them. She smiled slightly. "Still watching me like cowards," she whispered. With a few soft taps, she armed the pulse cannons, silent weapons that left no warning, no trace. One by one, the scout ships disappeared. No explosions, no signals, just silence. Back in Zarkan space, panic began to grow. The generals gathered in secret chambers, speaking in low voices. "This ship is dangerous," one said. "It uses old Earth tech, but enhanced." "How is that possible?" Another general, older and colder, leaned forward. "We destroy the humans. We erased them from history. But this one carries vengeance." The Emperor pounded the table. "Send a fleet. I want that ship broken into dust." A fleet was prepared. 20 Zarkan warships, each one larger than the Valkyrie, stronger, faster, newer. But the Zarkans didn't know one thing. The Valkyrie was never meant to fight fair. As the fleet entered the system, Rhea was already moving. The ship powered up. Shields hummed to life. Engines burned cold and blue. She wasn't going to run. She was going to make them remember. From her command seat, she watched the Zarkan ships approach like hungry beasts. She tapped a small button. The ship's core started to glow. A soft, pulsing light. It was the heart of the Valkyrie, an ancient human engine powered by dark core fusion. Illegal, unstable, deadly. She gave the ship a single order: dance. The Valkyrie vanished in a blink. To the Zarkans, it was like fighting a ghost. The ship appeared behind them, fired, and disappeared again. Their weapons couldn't lock. Their systems froze. One by one, the warships began to fall. Inside the chaos, Rhea spoke calmly. "You ruled with fear. Now feel it yourselves." 3 ships exploded, then 6 more. The last few tried to run, but the Valkyrie was faster, smarter, angrier. In less than 1 hour, the entire fleet was gone. Rhea stared at the wreckage. She felt no joy, only purpose. This was just the beginning. She opened a channel to the galaxy. Her voice echoed across systems, across stars, across every screen that still worked. Her message was short. Humanity remembers. We are not dead. We are not broken. We are coming. Across the galaxy, a spark was lit. Slaves looked up from their chains. Rebels picked up old weapons. Civilians whispered the word human like a prayer. In the darkness, something was changing. And at the center of it all, floated one warship, alone, silent, watching. The Zarkans had ruled for centuries, but now their time was running out. The galaxy held its breath. News of the destroyed Zarkan fleet spread like wildfire. No one had ever seen the Dominion lose so many ships, so quickly, to just one attacker. Whispers turned into roars. Hope, buried for centuries, began to rise again like a flame in the cold. But not everyone was celebrating. In the central Zarkan fortress, far from the front lines, Emperor Varnak stood in silence. He stared at the hologram of the battle site. 20 ships, gone. Not a single signal, not a single survivor, only floating metal and fire in the void. His face was calm, but inside, his rage was growing. He turned to his high warlord. "Who is she?" The warlord bowed low. "A human. Sire. Last known survivor. Her name is Rhea Cole. We believed her dead after the fall of Outpost 7. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Believed?" "Yes, my Emperor. There were no records, only rumors, until now." The Emperor clenched his clawed hand. "I want her found. And I want her broken." But Rhea wasn't hiding. She was already on the move. The Valkyrie flew deep into Zarkan territory, not to run, but to strike again. This time, her target was a slave world, Garan 4. For 100 years, the Zarkans had used Garan 4 as a mining colony. Billions of slaves, stolen from over 50 different species, lived in dark tunnels, digging for fuel and minerals. The skies above the planet were always filled with smoke. The surface was cracked, dry, and silent. No one had dared to fight back. Until now. The people on Garan 4 heard the signal before they saw the ship. 3 notes, soft but sharp, echoed through their communication towers. The same tone used by ancient human fleets before an attack. Many didn't know what it meant, but the older ones remembered. They dropped their tools. They raised their heads. They listened. Above them, a black shape appeared through the clouds. The Valkyrie. The Zarkan guards scrambled into position, activating surface turrets and calling for reinforcements. But they were too slow. The first blast hit the main guard tower. It fell like a dying beast, crushing the command center beneath it. Then the turrets exploded, one by one, each with surgical precision. The ship didn't fire wildly. It struck only Zarkan targets, never the civilians. The slaves watched in shock. For the first time in their lives, someone was fighting for them. Inside the ship, Rhea watched every move with sharp eyes. Her hands danced across controls, guiding the ship like it was part of her body. She opened the broadcast channel. "This is Commander Rhea Cole of the Valkyrie. If you are a prisoner of the Zarkan Dominion, you are free." The silence that followed was heavy. Then, slowly, one of the slaves stood, a young Arkan child, no older than 6, raised a broken tool high above his head. Then another stood, and another. Within minutes, the mines erupted with sound, not of machines, but of voices. The people of Garan 4 rushed the remaining Zarkan soldiers, weak, tired, starved, but filled with something stronger than fear. Hope. In less than an hour, the colony was free. Rhea landed the ship and stepped out onto the surface for the first time in years. The crowd stared at her, the armor, the human features, the fire in her eyes. To most of them, she was a myth, a ghost, a story from the past. But now, she was real. A small child walked up to her and asked, "Are you really human?" She knelt down and nodded. The last one, but not for long. From orbit, drones recorded the moment. Within hours, the footage was everywhere, even in hidden networks deep inside Zarkan territory. People who had given up began to speak again. Some began to plan. Others prepared to fight. Rhea gave the freed people supplies, weapons, and old human data cores. She didn't stay long. She couldn't. The Valkyrie had more work to do. As she lifted off, she spoke one last message to the people below. "Remember this day. It is not the end. It is the beginning." Back in Zarkan space, the Emperor watched the broadcast. His hands trembled with rage. "She's not just attacking," he said. "She's building an army." And he was right. In the shadows of the galaxy, something new was forming. A silent resistance, united not by race or language, but by one simple truth. The humans were back. And this time, they were not alone. The galaxy was changing. Across distant stars and forgotten systems, the name Rhea spread like a wave. People whispered it in fear, others shouted it in joy. Every time the Zarkans tried to silence the message, it grew louder. Her ship, the Valkyrie, became a symbol, not of death, but of freedom. But freedom had a price. Rhea knew this. She sat quietly in the Valkyrie's command center, studying a list of Zarkan outposts. Each name was a place where innocent lives were taken, each one a memory, a scar. The screen blinked. The next target appeared. Outpost 17. Rhea narrowed her eyes. This place wasn't just another station. It was once a human research lab, taken by the Zarkans during the early days of the war. Now it was used for dark experiments, testing weapons, breaking prisoners, studying pain. The Zarkans believed no one would dare come near it. They were wrong. She gave the order. Prepare for infiltration. The ship moved in stealth mode. No lights, no sound. Like a shadow across stars. As the Valkyrie approached the outpost, Rhea stood before her crew of AI drones and robotic assistants. They weren't alive in the usual sense, but they were loyal. They had learned from her, adapted, grown. They didn't speak, but they understood. This place, she said softly, took everything from us. Today, we take it back. Inside Outpost 17, Commander Draz of the Zarkan Science Unit sat in his private lab. He was cruel, even by Zarkan standards. He believed in results, not mercy. Around him, cages filled with test subjects. Aliens, hybrids, failed experiments lined the walls. Some begged. Some were silent. Some had given up. Draz didn't care. Test 94 begins in 2 minutes, he told his team. But the alarms rang before he could finish the sentence. Unidentified ship in Sector 6. No signal match. Before they could react, the lights flickered. Then darkness. The doors locked. Systems crashed. Gravity failed. Screens went black. Only one message remained, pulsing in red on every wall. Humanity lives. Panic spread. Rhea entered through the upper docking port, silent as wind. Her armor shimmered in the dark, built from forgotten human tech that the Zarkans never learned to understand. She moved fast, striking guards before they could scream. One by one, she unlocked the cells. The prisoners looked at her in disbelief. You're one of them," a weak voice whispered. "I'm what they couldn't kill," she answered. They followed her, weak but alive. Hope, again, burned. Draz tried to escape. He loaded his research onto a pod and launched for the command ship above the station. But the Valkyrie was watching. The pod was intercepted mid-flight and pulled into the ship's bay. Inside, Draz faced Rhea alone. He sneered. "You think this matters? You're one. We are billions." She stared at him coldly. "You were billions when you destroyed Earth. It didn't save you then. It won't save you now." She didn't kill him. Not yet. Instead, she locked him in a cell. One of his own. The same kind he used on others. Let him watch the Empire fall. With the station secure, Rhea activated the beacon. It sent a signal across the galaxy. Coordinates. Proof. A call for the broken to rise. The rebellion had a new base. Back in the Zarkan capital, the Emperor watched the reports with a hollow expression. This wasn't just a rogue ship anymore. This was war. He turned to his advisors. "She's not acting alone." The oldest advisor, a silent one, stepped forward. "There are whispers of old human allies. Machines that vanished after Earth's fall. Networks hidden in the outer rings. She may have reawakened them." The Emperor's jaw tightened. "Then we burn the stars if we must. We kill the memory of humanity, once and for all. But deep in a forgotten sector of space, lights were coming on in a station long believed dead. An old AI flickered back to life. "Signal received," it said. "Command. Rebuild." Across the stars, hidden labs, secret bunkers, and silent machines began to stir. Rhea had not just lit a spark. She had awakened the past, and the galaxy would never sleep again. The stars were no longer silent. Across the galaxy, sparks of resistance began to burn. Planets once beaten into silence now whispered Rhea's name with hope. The Valkyrie became more than a ship. It became a legend. But legends often draw shadows. Rhea Cole stood alone in her chamber aboard the Valkyrie. The ship floated in the dark region of Sector Delta 9, an unmarked area on most Zarkan maps. In the distance, a blue dwarf star blinked faintly. She wasn't hiding. She was waiting. A message had come 3 days ago. No voice, just coordinates and a symbol. A human one. The last time she saw that symbol was on the shoulder of her old squad commander. He had died during the fall of Earth, or so she thought. Now she wasn't sure of anything. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. A craft appeared out of the void, sleek, black, and silent. Human design, but old. Maybe even pre-fall tech. It docked without request. No alarms, no warnings. Rhea grabbed her pulse rifle and moved toward the airlock. It opened with a hiss. A figure stepped through the fog. A tall man in heavy armor, his face hidden behind a silver helmet. His voice came out calm and clear. "Commander Cole." Her eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" He removed the helmet. Her heart stopped. "Captain Aldrich." He smiled faintly. In the flesh, or what's left of it. He looked human, but not fully. His skin was pale, almost synthetic. His eyes glowed faintly blue. His movements were too smooth, too perfect. "What happened to you?" Rhea asked, stepping back. "I died," he said simply. "But Project Revenant brought me back. After Earth fell, a group of us were saved by a hidden AI. Project Omega. We became something else. Not fully human, not fully machine, but alive." Rhea lowered her weapon, slowly. "You're the one who sent the message." He nodded. "We've been watching, waiting for someone to light the fire. You did." He turned and activated a holomap. "There's something you need to see." A large structure appeared in the air, massive, dark, and shaped like a spearhead. "This," Aldrich said, "is the Dominion's final weapon. Codename, Black Sun." Rhea's blood ran cold. "What is it?" "A planet killer. Not just energy. It warps reality itself. Designed using stolen human tech. Built in secret. And it's almost ready." Rhea stared at the image. "How long?" 3 weeks. Maybe less. Once active, it can erase entire systems from existence. Memories, history, everything. She clenched her fists. "We have to destroy it." Aldrich looked grim. "It won't be easy. It's guarded by the Dominion's elite, the Obsidian Circle. You've faced soldiers. These are monsters. Modified. Broken. Built to kill anything with a heart." Rhea didn't flinch. "Where is it?" "Deep inside the Maw Nebula. No clear path in. Not alone." Rhea looked at the holomap, then at Aldrich. "Then we don't go alone." 2 days later, Rhea stood on a hidden station orbiting a forgotten moon. Before her were commanders, leaders, fighters from a dozen worlds. They weren't an army. Not yet. But they were willing. And that was enough. "We are the last," she told them. "Not of humans, not of races, but of those who still believe in freedom. The Zarkans built a weapon to erase history. We'll give them a new one." They cheered. And the plan was set. Meanwhile, on the edge of the Maw Nebula, the Emperor watched his weapon take shape. The Black Sun pulsed with dark energy. Engineers, scientists, slaves, All worked in silence, knowing any mistake meant death. The Emperor turned to his personal guard. Soon, there will be no more rebellion, no more stories, no more humans. But deep inside the weapon, hidden even from the Zarkans, something was stirring. A signal, a hum, a voice. "Commander Cole, we hear you." The weapon they built might not be as loyal as they thought. And the final battle had already begun, in shadows, in minds, in machines. Rhea's mission was clear. She didn't just have to stop the Black Sun. She had to awaken something even older. Something the galaxy had forgotten. Human will. The fleet was ready. Dozens of ships floated in silent formation across the edge of the Maw Nebula. They weren't polished or new. Most were old cargo freighters, scrap cruisers, even stolen Zarkan patrol ships. But they were armed, and they had purpose. At the center was the Valkyrie. Rhea Cole stood on her command deck, her eyes fixed on the swirling clouds of the nebula ahead. The Maw wasn't just dangerous, it was cursed. No maps worked inside. Energy storms swallowed ships whole. And hidden somewhere deep inside, the Black Sun waited. She took a breath. This would be her final chance. Aldrich entered quietly, his synthetic steps soft against the metal floor. "The fleet is in position," he said. "Any word from the deep scouts?" she asked. He shook his head. "Nothing. If they're still alive, they can't signal through the nebula's interference." Rhea didn't flinch. She already knew what that meant. They were on their own. She stepped forward. Open channel. Across the fleet, screens came to life. Pilots, fighters, commanders, all stared at her, waiting. "This is Commander Rhea Cole. I won't give you a long speech. You already know why we're here. That thing inside this nebula, the Black Sun, it was made to erase us, to wipe out every memory of Earth, of humanity, of everything that dared to fight back." She paused. "They think we're afraid. They think we're broken. But they forgot one thing. We're human, and we don't go quietly." Cheers echoed through every ship. Rhea turned back to her crew. "Let's move." As the fleet entered the nebula, darkness wrapped around them. Visibility dropped. Electrical storms danced through the clouds. Time itself seemed to slow. Voices crackled over the comms. Then the attacks began. Zarkan drones, built to survive the chaos of the Maw, dropped from the clouds like metal spiders. They hit fast, tearing into the outer ships. Explosions flashed like stars being born and dying in seconds. "Evasive maneuvers," Rhea shouted. "Hold the line." The fleet fought back. Missiles cut through space. Energy blasts lit the black. Ships collided, burned, fell. But they kept moving forward. Inside the Valkyrie, alarms rang out. Hull breaches, damage reports. But Rhea didn't slow. "We get to that weapon," she growled. "No matter what." Then the nebula shifted. Before them, space opened, and the Black Sun appeared. It was massive. A dark sphere surrounded by rings of light and gravity waves. Energy pulsed from its core. Around it hovered a wall of defense platforms, shaped like blades. And in the center, guarding the main gate, floated the Obsidian Circle. 6 ships, each one different, each one terrifying. "These aren't normal Zarkans," Aldrich warned. "Each one's been enhanced. Cybernetic minds, armor forged in dark matter. They don't feel pain. And they don't retreat." Rhea's jaw tightened. "Then we don't give them time to think." The battle that followed was chaos. The Valkyrie targeted the left flank, weaving through storms of fire. 2 friendly ships exploded near her, but she pushed on. One of the Obsidian ships, the Nightfang, locked onto her. Its weapons glowed red. It fired. Aldrich shouted, "Brace!" The blast hit them square in the side. Systems failed. Lights dimmed. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then, a voice came through. Not human, not Zarkan. Something else. Do not fall. Your story is not done. Rhea's vision cleared. The ship's AI, the ancient one that slept for years, had awakened fully. The Valkyrie roared back to life. New weapons activated. Hidden shielding flickered on. A core cannon unfolded from beneath the ship's spine. Rhea didn't ask how. She simply gave the order. Fire. The Night Fang exploded in a wave of black flame. The path was open. Meanwhile, on the black sun's surface, something stirred. Inside the central chamber, a childlike figure floated in a tube of light. It wasn't Zarkan. It wasn't human. It was the core, a living being built to power the weapon. But it was afraid. For the first time since its creation, it sensed something outside the programming. A memory. A song. A human lullaby. Someone had reached it. Someone was calling. The voice whispered, "You don't have to obey." And the core began to listen. Back on the battlefield, the fleet broke through the final line. 3 of the Obsidian Circle were destroyed. 2 fled. 1 remained. The Void Reaper, a monster of a ship, driven by a pilot who had once been human, now twisted beyond recognition. It moved toward the Valkyrie at full speed. Rhea knew she couldn't outrun it. "Prepare to ram," she said. Her crew stared at her. "We don't stop now," she said softly. "We end this." But just as the Void Reaper came close, it paused. All systems on the Black Sun began to shut down. A signal spread from the core. "I choose not to destroy." The entire weapon deactivated. Lights went out. And in that silence, Rhea realized something. She hadn't just stopped a weapon. She had saved a soul. But it wasn't over. In the shadows of the Dominion capital, the Emperor stood before a new machine. Bigger, deadlier. "If the galaxy wants to remember humans," he whispered, "then let them remember their extinction." The war wasn't ending. It was only changing. And Rhea would have to become more than a warrior. She would have to become a symbol. The galaxy held its breath. News of the Black Sun's shutdown spread like fire. Worlds that had given up hope now stood tall again. Resistance cells across systems lit up the stars with messages of unity. Rhea Cole had done the impossible. But the war was not over. Far across space, deep inside the Dominion's capital world, Zarkoma Prime, the Emperor stood in a chamber built from ancient stone and living metal. Around him, dark machines hummed with life. This was Project Final Dawn, the last and most terrible creation of the Dominion. The Emperor placed his hand on a console made of bone and steel. A deep rumble echoed through the ground. "Activate the arc," he whispered. Below the surface, something massive began to rise. It wasn't a ship. It was a world engine, a machine the size of a small moon, built to rewrite reality itself. It didn't just destroy. It bent time, erased truth, made people forget. The Dominion would wipe the memory of humans from the universe completely. Back on the Valkyrie, Rhea stared at the message from the last spy left on Zarkona Prime. She read it twice, then once more. "No," she whispered. Aldrich stepped beside her, his synthetic eyes glowing faintly. "They call it the Ark. It can reach every mind across the stars. If it activates, humanity will be nothing more than a ghost, not even a story." Rhea didn't speak for a long moment. Then she turned. "Then we go to the heart of darkness. No fleet, no armies, just one ship, the Valkyrie." It dropped out of light speed above Zarkona Prime, cloaked and silent. The Dominion did not expect a direct assault. The skies were filled with defensive satellites and towers, but none noticed the lone craft. Inside, Rhea gathered her gear. She looked at her crew, those who had followed her from the start. "This is it," she said quietly. "We don't all come back. But what we do here, it echoes forever." Aldrich placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are not alone." They launched drop pods toward the surface, tiny, fast, nearly invisible. They hit the ground near the Ark's entrance. Fighting began instantly. Zarkan death squads swarmed from tunnels. Mechanical beasts roared through the smoke, but Rhea and her team pushed forward, step by step, room by room. Each hallway cost lives. Each level burned. But still, they moved. At the center of the arc, Rhea finally stood before the Emperor. He wore no armor. He didn't need it. His body was a fusion of flesh, metal, and pure energy. His voice echoed without speaking. "You are too late, human," he said, smiling. "Your people will be forgotten. Your wars erased. Even this moment will vanish." He raised his hand. A beam of black light shot toward her. Rhea blocked it with her last shield unit, which shattered on impact. The ground shook. The arc began to glow. It was activating. Aldrich leaped forward, tackling the Emperor. The two fell into the control core, fighting with brutal strength. Rhea ran to the console. "Too much power," she muttered. "Too fast." She looked at the core, pulsing and alive. There was only one way. She opened a panel on her chest armor. A glowing crystal pulsed inside. The heart of the Valkyrie's eye fused with a part of her own DNA. It was the ship's soul. And hers. She removed it, plugged it into the console. The arc shook violently. The Emperor screamed, "No, you can't overwrite me." But it was too late. Rhea's memories, her voice, her humanity. Everything surged into the system. The arc stopped, then rebooted. Its purpose rewritten. Not to erase, but to remember. Across the galaxy, a wave of memory spread. Children in alien cities saw images of Earth. Old warriors remembered the sound of human laughter. Machines woke from slumber, whispering Rhea's name. The Dominion's grip collapsed in a single moment. The Emperor was gone. The arc went silent. When Rhea opened her eyes, she was floating. Not dead. Not alive. Inside the system. She had become part of it. A voice echoed around her. Soft. Kind. "You did not fail," it said. "You became more." She smiled. And faded into light. Years later, statues of a woman with sharp eyes and a burning heart stood on every free world. Children asked, who was she? And the answer came, again and again. She was human.